This is the Blooming Psyche Podcast. Grab a seat and join us as we navigate life our own way.
Now let's begin blooming our psyche. The general gist. All right. Hello.
Hi. How's it going? Welcome back. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Through the holidays and through me getting COVID yet again. You might be able to hear my sinuses are a little clogged. Might have a sinus infection. Shit happens, but we're here. We made it happen.
Excellent. So our meaningful topic today is somewhere around the land of conflict management, emotions, etc. Right? So let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's go with, if there's a conflict, what's the first thing that you jump to? Good or bad?
Okay, let's be completely honest. It depends on what it is, first off, the conflict. Yeah. However, usually I tend honestly to think from my own perspective. And I think if I was in that scenario, what is what this person that's having a problem realistic? Is it based in reality, or is it based in emotional land? Is it based in in all of this conglomeration, this soup of feelings?
Is it like inflated?
Yeah, exactly. Is it just being ladled out and thrown in this fucking soup, or is it thought about? Is it actually is there meaning behind it, or is this just some sort of thing that is a proponent of just all of these things going on in your head that's just coming out and being dispersed onto the other person?
Yeah.
Right? And with the expectation that they're going to solve your problems. Right. And so I think about it in a sense of, is the points that are being made in this conflict, are they logical? Is there any rhyme or reason behind what is being said? Or are they jumping from point to point to point to point to point?
Okay.
And how can we sort this problem out in the fastest, most meaningful way possible?
Okay.
So that we can not have this problem happen again.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, that being said, let's say, for starters, let's say it's emotional, and then we'll get to logical. Let's say it's an emotional problem.
Okay. Let's see. So, how about you come up with a scenario for me real quick?
Sure.
And I'll just think.
Let's just say it's like a work or something, and Buddy is getting mad at you because you did something that he expected you to do, but in reality, let's say you already did it, or you didn't have to do it, or something to that manner. Okay.
So, first thing that I would be thinking is this scenario that this person is freaking out about, does this actually have anything to do with me?
Let's say sure. Let's say it's something that you were doing.
Gotcha. Okay, so I was focusing on something else, let's just say.
Okay.
Let's just say I was doing a job, and maybe I didn't know that they wanted me to do that. First thing I would have to ask is, hey, man, did you tell me to do that? Did I just not hear you or something?
Yeah.
What happened? Right? Or were you just expecting that I was going to read your mind and know? Right? Because there's a really big problem if you're expecting me to do something. Maybe I don't even know that I'm supposed to do that thing, right? And if let's just say you're this higher up that's just expecting that I know that I have to do this thing when you've never told me and you never explained that to me and you never asked me to do that today, but I already have all these other things that I need to do, well, it makes sense that maybe I wouldn't do it because I didn't know, right? So maybe next time, could I just get you to ask that I do that thing, or just be kind of, thoughtful of that, right? Can we do it now? Can we get it done now? Can we sort that problem out now? Right? Like that kind of stuff, in that conflict, I've had that kind of stuff happen many times in my current work, right? But they didn't ask, and they just expected that I was going to know to do it. When in reality, I had no fucking idea. I really didn't know. I didn't know that it was a thing that we looked at even. I didn't know that it was something that was important, right? And then, but now I've I've tweaked and fixed the behavior, and now I know that this thing is something that's important, especially to this person.
Yes.
Right? So I do it,
Yeah.
especially when I'm with that person, right? But I do it in general. I do the job in general. Anyways.
Yeah, so let's move it to like a logical thing. So let's say there's a conflict, but there's, let's say, like a general consensus of like reality, and then there's what you believe to be true, and then what they believe to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's apparent to both of you.
Okay. So give me an example.
Okay, so let's say it's like some topic, or like, let's say it's like a diet thing or something, like something that has some kind of science that there's evidence on both sides, perhaps, but one person sees it in one way and another person sees it another way, and in the middle there's a disagreement.
Right. Most of the time, and this might be a bit of a, this might make me look like a weak person to some people, not to everybody, but most of the time, if it's a disagreement and something that I do works for me and something that they do that they disagree with something that I say or do, I'll just say, okay, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have time for this. I'm trying to do my job. I don't have time to argue over these kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So most of the time, if it's really like, let's just say, for example, when I was early on into my career with this company, there was a guy who had said something along the lines of life's too short to work out, effectively. Life's too short to work out. And people who work out are not dumb, but I can't remember. It was about 2 years ago that I had this conversation, but I disagreed completely.
Yeah.
But instead of jumping into an argument and being like, dude, don't you know about all the health benefits and blah, blah, blah. And right. And just getting into that, I was kind of just like, okay, that's just this guy's experience in life.
Yeah.
And if he chooses that he doesn't like to work out, I'm not going to go in like injecting my belief system on him.
Yeah.
Right. Because obviously it's firm. He just made it very clear that he
Yeah.
thinks it's dumb to work out and that it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to be like, okay, man, cool. Let's just move on.
Interesting.
Boom.
I have a slightly different approach.
Go for it.
So my approach to something like that would be, okay, why? More like in something along that kind of line, where I want to know why they have this perspective, right? So then I can understand their point of view, and then they get to be heard, and then I now have grounds to be heard, right? Because then I can say, okay, but have you considered this, or have you considered that, or did you think about this, or did you think about that? And then now that they've known that they've been heard, and they've kind of put their kind of theory out on the table, then I can start to see like, okay, you missed this spot, or you missed that spot, or you didn't take that into account, so I'm going to ask about that, or query this kind of idea.
Totally.
And then let's see how you respond. What do you say? Or do you come back with like very vehemently, like, I am sticking with my guns kind of idea, or am I now considering another alternative outcome or perspective? And then you can kind of work back and forth.
Yeah, and I think in a general, let's just say in a general real world outside of work scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
To me, that would make complete sense. But if we're in the middle of work and I'm focusing on something and this could cause a problem for somebody.
Okay.
Right? If I kind of know the personality of the person just based on what they've said and stuff and things that they've said in the past, I'm not going to try to get into that. I'm just gonna be like, I'm just trying to work. I'm trying to get through my day, and so I can move on with my life. Right?
It's time sensitive.
Totally, it's time sensitive. We don't have all day to do this job. I'm not gonna spend 25 minutes arguing with you about this thing. Right? So, but in, let's just say we're in a bar. That's a completely different, a completely different
Let's
environment.
Say that's the case.
Okay, if I would agree with you, right? I would ask questions.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, well, why though? Right? Like, don't you understand that maybe there's the ability to, if you strengthen your core and you do a lot of core exercise, that your back is more stable and that you're protecting your spine, and that this could literally save you in the event of a car accident or something from having years and years of pain, right? Like, and this can fix that if you work this part of your body out, and you have pain in this spot right now because you don't work out, because you don't do squats, so your fucking legs hurt all the time or whatever, right? Like,
well, let's say their counter to that is, let's say I already hurt and I can't do that exercise, or at least in their perspective, they cannot do this thing. Let's say it's not a harm, but a pain, right? Let's say it's just a weakness due to not working out that they feel like they can't start to work out because they can't. They feel like they can't.
Right.
But it's not an actual wall of the body limitation. It's the mind limitation.
Well, I'd have to look into their history on that, right? I'd have to look into, okay, have you ever tried just doing it and doing it, even though it kind of hurts a little bit, even though it's not causing you, even though you know, because you can tell when you tear something, right? If you do a squat and you tear something, that's a problem. You are actually injured, right? But if you can do squats and it's extremely uncomfortable for you, right? You can still do the squats. You can still move your body. And sometimes just doing the squats and moving your body will break up whatever, let's just say cartilage, as an example, you're feeling in your body. And then it'll actually feel a lot better because you're lubing up your muscles, right? And so maybe bringing that to their attention. Like, have you ever just tried doing 10 squats a day?
Yeah.
To just start the process and have your body know what that feels like, and to have your body maybe just push through these issues that you're experiencing right now, right? I would try to poke at it from different angles instead of just being like, I'm not gonna fucking deal with this because, you know, it's their life and blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if in that regard, it would definitely be beneficial to both of us for to have a conversation about it and to say, okay, where are you at with that? Like, have you, and then maybe I'd even check in, like with let's just say one of my friends, for example, let's just say he never works out and he's experiencing pain. Okay, well, there's studies that have been done here, and here, because you look into these studies to be able to give information, or I read this in this book saying that if you do a certain number of push-ups every day, that your shoulders will feel less pain, just as an example. Yeah. Right. And then say, how about you give it a try? I'll do 50 push-ups a day, and if you do 10, right? And then check in with them. Be like, have you done the 10? And how does it feel? Is it worse? Is it better? Is it like, and try to be encouraging about it, right? Yeah. Because in that regard, if you want to be better for people, you have to show them, and sometimes you have to give people a little push over the edge to make them actually go and try the thing. Because most of the time it's all up in your head. Yeah. It's telling you, I can't do that thing because I'm feeling pain, or I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling that, or I'm just lazy, or whatever, right? But once you do it, and once you push them, once they actually try the thing, maybe just out of morbid curiosity, right? And they're just doing it just to be curious and be like, oh, maybe this thing does help. I don't know, right? You've made a shift, and wherever you can make a shift in somebody's brain, right, towards something that is better for them, I want to take on an opportunity to do that at any chance I can
Absolutely.
Get, right?
And I feel like we psych ourselves out a lot of the time. Yeah, like, totally. Let's say it's like almost confirming or denying my problem. Like, you're looking for someone else to agree with you that you can't do a thing, so you feel okay with not doing it. But when you go to somebody and let's say you're complaining, which no one likes someone who complains. However, the complainer's perspective is, I want sympathy. Yes. Right? So they want to be confirmed in their feelings. Right. However, a lot of the time it's like, okay, man, well, maybe you should try a little bit harder to push past through that a little bit, and then you won't try to psych yourself out about it because you realize the benefits, per se. Let's just say that's the case. And then realizing the benefits, it eliminates that little bit of voice that was giving you that doubt, that was giving you the incentive to complain in the first place, because you were having the difficulty, or you were fearful of the thing, or fearful of trying to start the thing, because let's say you never did that very often, or let's say you failed in the past doing it, and now you feel this wall that's been put up by your past, let's say, trauma of doing, let's call it trauma. Yeah. Right? It doesn't have to be as extreme as the spectrum of traumas, but it's something that's generating a wall. Right? But the moment you climb over the wall is when you overcome the fear. And the fear is usually the thing that's holding you back to do anything. Because you feel like this thing is going to end up negative in whatever way that you can visualize to yourself.
Right.
And that's what that fear is, right? Is the repercussions. Less do you even notice that not doing the thing is going to have way worse repercussions than the little bit of pain that it takes to start. Not harm,
Yeah.
pain. It's sensation, not damage.
Mm.
It's like a cold plunge.
Yeah.
Painful, not harmful.
Yes.
Two completely separate things.
Totally.
Right? So now it's like, how can I manage these two elements? Is it harming me? No. Is it painful? Potentially. Let's say yes. Okay, well, now this is something that I don't need to fear.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to harm me in the allowable limits that I can kind of work with.
Yeah.
Right? Like working out.
It's like you have a little bit of a Venn diagram here,
Mhm.
right? And then on the one side, you have all of these things. Okay, this is painful. I'm scared of this. Will this harm me? Will this actually physically cause me problems? No. Okay. Well, all these things are, or maybe. So let's just say you have those two in your circles, and then in the center, you can be like, okay, well, this is
Danger zone.
These things, yeah, this is the danger zone. We don't want to go here, but over here on this side, we can do. We realize that this hurts. We realize that this is okay though, so we can do these things.
Yeah.
As long as we keep ourselves at a safe level to what we're comfortable with, right? Like we still need to be able to be realistic with ourselves.
Totally.
If you've never worked out a day in your life, and then you go and try to do 100 million push-ups in one go, fuck that. That's not happening. You don't have a core built for that.
Terrible idea.
Right? Like you're just gonna be in pain for days and days and days.
Probably hurt yourself. You're going to the danger zone.
Exactly. You
Right?
don't
You're
want
not
to do
going
that.
to the plan.
Exactly. So yeah, absolutely. So let's just say, can I bring up a scenario for you?
100%.
Okay, cool. Let's just say I come to you and I'm very emotional because I got told by my doctor that if I don't change my diet, I'm going to die.
Yes.
Okay. But I hate water. But I hate drinking water. I love Mountain Dew. I fucking hate water. I don't want to drink it, but the doctor said I have to. And this person's coming to you looking for sympathy. What is your response, and how do you think you would bring it to them that this might be a good thing and find the benefits for them?
Fuck, that's a weird one.
It is.
Interesting. I don't know if I would be sympathetic
That's fair.
because I know that I love water and I know all the things that water does because we are water. So that I would literally think of it as the Mountain Dew, if you didn't drink any water, would simply be poison.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like sugar.
Sugar.
Right? It's not going to kill you immediately, but it will certainly diminish your output over the long term.
Yeah.
And then generate diabetes or whatever potentially eventually.
Yeah.
However, in this scenario, I would do my best to hear why this person is constantly drinking Mountain Dew, whether it's the fucking addiction, the feeling, the whatever, and then try to understand kind of like where they're kind of treading in this path and like their lifestyle, and then doing something to kind of bridge the gap between the water and the Mountain Dew. Let's say it's half and half, or like some split where you can kind of work around it, and then realize the benefits by just introducing it a bit, and like the feeling that you have and like the way that you can interact with things, and then you can start to really feel in your own experience the benefit of the thing. So now I don't need to do the work of convincing you, you're convincing yourself.
Right.
Right? And in this way you can start to kind of manipulate your own brain because you can see how it is affecting you.
Right.
And then you'll want more of it.
Yeah. And
Much like working out. If you don't work out, because one of the great things about working out is it's a short path to reducing the gravity on your body,
yeah.
right? Like you operate more effectively in the world by not being as affected by existing.
Yes.
It's just a simpler, like a different way of seeing it. As it's not like I need to be super strong to do a lot of things. It's I need to be strong so I can not have things be more difficult.
Yeah.
Like more difficult than they need to be.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like if you can't open a pickle jar, well, let's say you never had to struggle opening anything. Would that be appealing to you?
No. To me, no.
No, but like if you couldn't. Like if you were someone who couldn't do a lot of shit, but now all of these things are just gone. Like there's no problems whatsoever. It's like for me,
Yeah.
I had a fear of heights. due to like specific events occurring and me breaking things and it not being great. However, my solution was not to avoid. It was to learn and adapt, which was to learn how to climb.
Right.
And this learning of climbing put me in a situation where I was involved with heights. However, I was developing a skill to prevent the fall.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, how can I integrate while being kind of symbiotic with it?
Right.
Where I can kind of be where I was, but see the other side and then be able to slowly move across to like convert myself to where I want to go. Kind of idea.
Totally. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
No. But yeah, so that's kind of my idea on what I would do if I was placed in a situation where I was at a place, but not even close to being in another place. Like, let's say I'll give David Goggins as an example. Whatever lifestyle he had that generated his 300-pound, lazy, soda-drinking, Dunkin' Donuts body to this is not a path that is sustainable. I will die if I maintain this course in like a sense of urgency and necessity, right? You may not be dying, or likely you are in this situation, but you're not seeing it. It's not super like kinetic.
Yeah.
But I'm giving myself an ultimatum to see the light of the other side and kind of transition and be like, I cannot maintain this. I must go over here now. Right? You have to be able to see what's bad and what's good, like what's bad about what you're doing, what's good about what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And if you can't evaluate the sides, well, then you're not going to make a decision because you don't give a fuck. You're not seeing the negatives. You're not seeing the positives. You're just allowing permanent ignorance. So you're living in oblivion.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not willing to see, then you're in oblivion. But the moment you can see and feel pain about it, good. Feel that pain. Feel how it sucks to suck. Feel how it sucks to be a loser.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that's going to motivate you. That's what's going to give you the energy to move away from being a lazy fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the power of feeling like shit.
Well, and that's why we have those feelings in the first place.
That's why we have those feelings.
Yeah.
It's so you can learn to not feel like shit. It gives you the motivation. It's like if we didn't have nerve cells and we touched a hot surface. Why do I care that my hand's burning if I don't feel the pain?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's why I think it's important to feel depressed. I think it's important to feel these ways. It's not a disease. It's not something that's incurable. It's like, I don't know, I have a controversial opinion about ADHD. Sure, there may be some scenarios where it is absolutely incurable and you cannot change your scenario. Sure, let's say that's like 2%. But I think the vast majority of people is just lifestyle. You're so constantly inundated with low, or rather super high frequency sporadic events that don't connect because you don't care too much about each individual thing, that there's nothing that actually lingers.
Yeah.
It's all just like temporal short-term memory and nothing really fucking matters.
Totally.
So that's the way that you interact with everything. Is like, I need a little bit of everything all at once to maintain my state of chaos.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing through that and being like, okay, I need to start like lining up my day and doing things specifically and methodically and like maintaining specific activities so I can get myself out of this rut.
Yeah, and that's kind of with what we were talking about before this, right? I was mentioning how I am very one-track minded.
Yeah.
And that's because that is the formula that I have created to combat the idea of ADHD in my brain, right? Because my dad has it. It's real. It's clinical. And so most of the time when you have it, you pass that gene on, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's behavior.
Totally. But to a degree, that was an experience that I've been through for years, right? Even before phones, I was fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place, right? Like I was just, oh man, I don't even want to get into it. But the changing of the format, because I've realized that this is a thing that's causing me problems. So the first thing I had to do was get rid of social media and like doom scrolling through
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and all that shit, and
Yeah.
Snapchat, and just wanting to keep a streak going and stupid shit like that, right? Like I had to get rid of all of that because it was applying more of this instant gratification and this
Yes.
like I need to look at this every time my phone buzzes. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, like a fucking deer in headlights. Like, oh, what's that? Like, or a deer hearing something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So I had to stop that. I had to cut it off. I had to be like, this is not effective. This is
Exactly.
not a good thing to do, right? And I think the problem is that with phones and with social media and with the infinite scroll loop that was created, that even the fucking inventor of the infinite scroll loop regretted it. He was like, fuck, this is terrible for people and we shouldn't be putting it out there. The people still took it and put it out there because they knew it was going to be a hit, right? And it was going to get them all the likes and clicks. But as soon as I realized that this was a problem for my brain, because it was taking what the idea of ADHD was and it was artificially implanting it into my brain. I could see it happening
Yeah.
in front of my eyes and in my brain. I could literally see it happening. I had to get rid of it all. I was like, nope, this is gone. And sometimes I still go to YouTube and it's just like, fucking, I want to scroll and scroll and scroll. And then I'm like, oh shit, 3 hours is gone. That's a waste of my life. So I've had to really take my time and say, okay, I'm focusing on this right now. I'm not focusing on anything else. This is all I'm focusing on, right? Which can be hard because there's other things that you also need to focus on in your life.
Yes.
And it can if I really hyperfixate on that one thing, sometimes it gets in the way of other things like food, like eating in general, like just doing general normal things.
Yeah.
Because I'm so focused on this one thing. So I'm trying to find a middle ground here, but I still think just dropping the social media and turning more in a direction of linear focus has benefited me drastically. Even if it's kind of going a little too far and I need to tame it back a little bit and be able to focus on maybe one or two things at a time and be able to maybe just keep up these other things in this area while I'm focusing on this thing to implement it into my regular daily schedule over here, right? That has been the biggest change for me. But I don't think anybody sees that because nobody talks about it, right? Nobody brings it up. Nobody tells you that social media is bad for you. Not even your fucking brain and body tells you that it's bad for you.
Mine does.
That's different, right? But in general,
Yeah.
right? You have kids that are getting phones at 3, literally iPads.
insane.
They're getting taught by TV shows, everything. Their parents are tired, so go watch TV, or I'll put you in front of an iPad and you can just stare at it and get dopamine flushed into your brain and let your brain turn to mush, right? That is our culture now. This is what we've changed into. So it's noticing that this is actually dangerous and realizing this is not good for you. This is bad for you. This is bad for us. This is bad for our culture.
Yes.
This is bad for our communities. This is bad for everybody, all these young people that are coming up in the world. I am so glad that you and I were just before it.
Oh, dude.
Because
Before it.
Just like middle school hit. First year of middle school for me, and that's when phones were out. That's when phones and iPods and all that kind of stuff started coming out, and touch screens and all that crap. Like and Facebook, right? Like all that stuff came out just after I got into middle school.
Dude, I remember it was like around the same time where literally the first time in the school was online bullying like a thing.
Yeah.
It was like people were like freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, my social life is destroyed.
It's destroyed. Yeah.
Like, but the perspective is, and I've heard this before, is like the worst thing that happened to you is the worst thing that happened to you, which is my problems are my problems. And when I feel like it's bad, the world's going to end because this is the worst thing that I've been through.
Yep.
But obviously, as you go through life, that boundary expands and you realize how simple and just kind of trivial this thing is that's affecting me is.
Yeah. Totally.
Right? But when you're a kid, it's like the inverse. Like a young kid, like everything is you. So like the pan falls from the table and it falls and makes a bang sound and like your world has fallen.
Yeah.
Kind of idea.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And it's just like the expansion of that.
Yeah.
Right? Where how can I deal with the hyperboreal pan falling right in my own head and just like see it for what it is and then move through that.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's so interesting how we've evolved to this point.
Oh,
And
fascinating.
how we haven't tried even to implement the idea of emotional control in our school systems or in anything, or being able to just tell yourself, is this really a big deal? Like, should I be worrying about this?
Yeah.
Do I need to get as many friends as possible on Facebook? Do I need to get as many likes as possible on Instagram? Does any of this actually matter?
Exactly.
But no, this is what they want. This is what I don't know if I can say it's what they want, but this is where our world is. This is just what it is right now. And we have no control over it, right? And it's gonna cause a lot of problems down the road. Like when I look at what I see sometimes on the internet of just like kids that are becoming YouTube famous and stuff like that at like 10.
Oh, they're fucked.
And then there's all these people around them that are like, oh my God, you're YouTube famous. And that gives this person this massive dopamine rush, and this child, literally a child, massive dopamine rush. And then there's all these people that are in schools that are like, oh, I got more likes than you on this thing, so I'm cooler and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, they don't realize that none of that fucking matters in the long run. And these people are going to be running the world in like 60 years or like 40 years. These kids that are crying and whining over the fact that they don't have as many likes as their friend are going to be running the world. Are the one next in line after us.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is you will run into problems regardless.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And then you will learn the folly of your ways. And it's but before that period of time, it's chaos because you're not able to see who says what, really.
Yeah.
Like, you can see a picture, you can see their whatever. You can't. Text is, like, in my opinion, the lowest form of communication because there's such little that you can read into it. Like, truly reading between the lines. Like, you don't see facial expression. You don't see the actual person's anything.
Yeah, and even on the phone, you don't see the facial expressions, but at least you can hear the tone of voice.
Yeah.
At least you can at least you can hear it. At least you can
Yeah.
like verbally pick up on things.
Yeah, like, you could think I'm one specific person, just my typing style,
Yeah.
which has no influence on what I am.
Yeah. I come across problems with that all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Where
It's like, are you mad at me? Question
mad
mark.
at me?
Well, no, I forgot to put a smile emoji to, like, mitigate that. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want from me? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Right? That's so funny. So then how about in regards to our topic, like how do we deal with people that are so heavily influenced by that and have absolutely zero emotional control due to the fact that they've just been sucked into this world of instant gratification and constant dopamine and let's just say they want to be better. They want to grow and they want to see, but they have absolutely no experience in the real world outside of being on their phone and going to school or whatever.
that's tough because as much as, like, we are inundated by technology, the internet, fucking the evolution of technology and the way that has stems into economics and then culture, and like you cannot escape the clutches of it. So you can't do like a restrictive diet kind of idea.
Yeah.
However, you can, you just will understand that this is no longer a factor in your lifestyle, which most people do not have the will to pass that threshold.
Yeah.
To just say, I don't want this. This is going to go over there.
Yeah.
However, you can kind of titrate it by reintroducing other things that you enjoy. And you have to be curious and enjoy something, right? But in terms of, like, let's say games or like social media, and let's say that you just keep getting dopamine spikes, and when you do something else, it feels trivial.
Yeah.
Well, much like any addiction or something that you're trying to break, and fucking your phone, video games, all that's addictive, and you are addicted if you're still using it. So, you will have a withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
You must bypass the withdrawal period.
Yeah.
If you constantly feel and give yourself the verbiage in your own mind that whenever you fail something that I can't, you now cut down your next attempt. So you must keep progressing with the positive mindset that you can.
Yeah.
Because the moment you try to stop doing something and say, oh, this just isn't me, like, or I can't do this, or like just something silly that you just say offhandedly, but don't realize that the consequence of that word that you just said cut down your next attempt. Because it just buried it in your brain, and the next time you're about to do it, that idea or memory or moment flashes back in your mind, and then you lose willpower because that word appears and cuts down your will.
Right. And you're not giving yourself your word and then sticking to it.
And that's where I'm going is you have to develop your word.
Yeah.
You have to develop trust in yourself and the responsibility of your action.
Totally.
And if you don't have trust in your own word, well, then you're going to constantly keep failing at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the strength to commit.
Yeah, totally.
And I've thought about this previously, which is just continuity itself equals time. And the problem is with time, it takes a period to move matter. You cannot escape this. In the physical world, it takes time to move things.
Yeah.
In the mental world, you can have an epiphany and shift quantum.
Like that. Snap.
Right? But if you don't have the ability to shift your belief system with your epiphany, you will believe that you are how you were. Right. So now you're stuck in the past.
Right.
So now this is a belief system problem where I'm not allowing myself to know that I can change. Therefore, you need to shift that part of yourself first.
Yeah. And I think in the realm of the question, which was with people that want to change but have been so addicted to their phones, I don't know if I'm different here, but my strategy is literally just removing it.
Yeah.
It's saying I'm not dealing with that. And
ideally, that's the case.
That ideally, yes, but I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
With no real backlash, no real, no problem, really. I can just be like, I don't need that anymore. I'm going to put that over there, right? That's something that I think I'm very good at. So, but I still think there's a lot of value behind the ability just to think and be like, is this something that I can just pick up and put away for a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just 2 hours to start, right? Let's just say you want to cut back on your phone time. You go through your average daily and you see that it's at 6.5 hours of
and you're halfway through the day.
And you're halfway, like, just gone. 6.5 hours daily on average. Let's just say that's that.
Yeah.
Over the course of the past week. That's a lot of time. You do the math on that, you're eating up over that week almost 3 days of time.
Yeah, how much are you sleeping on top of that each day?
Totally, right? So you're giving yourself, you're almost doing a full job of time in your phone. You're almost like at a job. You're not giving your brain a break because being on your phone is causing a lot of activity in your mind, right? And that refresh of you going to the next video or looking at the next post or whatever, that's not giving you, that's not a break. People think that it's a break, but it's not. So being able to just be like, okay, I'm going to put this away for a bit. Yeah. And I'm going to focus on something else that I might enjoy in the real world outside of outside of my clout and my phone, right? Like I'm going to go put my phone in that fucking cupboard and I'm going to leave it there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then you tell yourself, I will not go back no matter how many times it fucking buzzes. Turn it off. Just turn the phone off so you don't hear the buzzing, you don't hear the tings or the Twitter sounds or anything like that. Nothing. You just turn it off and you fucking go for a walk. Do something. Do something that is beneficial to you or something that will take your mind elsewhere. And then next time do longer.
Yeah.
Next time do longer. Next time do longer. Until you're you've surpassed the 6 hours or the 6.5 hours that you were spending originally on your phone. And you've now been learning that you can put that time into something that is going to grow you a valuable skill or something that you can do that you actually enjoy that brings you genuine value and dopamine, right?
Yeah, and that's where I would add and input hard things, because hard things require your attention.
Yes.
And that's where most people avoid hard things, I feel like, influenced by so many easy things like scrolling on your phone that they feel like they're not good at, or they don't want to do hard things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's like the phone is corrupting your brain,
Yes.
right? In a way that you're no longer as able to do hard things because you've sabotaged your focus, your
Yes.
awareness, and your attention.
Yes.
You may not see it because you're living in a shrunken world
Yeah.
of attention.
Literally.
And that's where I feel like that ADHD is you're in your shrunken world where things pop off, and let's say it's slightly more difficult just to pay attention. Therefore, you're now more scattered feeling. So now you start to believe that you are scattered, and you start to believe that this is how I am. And now you're no longer able to see the future of you not being this way, or the past of when you weren't this way.
Right.
Or let's say in your past you were always this way, therefore this is who I am. That's not true.
Right.
We're always able to change. It's just, do we give ourselves the space, the time, and the action to show ourselves differently?
Yeah, totally. And with that, like a great example of that is me with weed. I smoked weed, started smoking weed. Before, when I started, I could see the time where I didn't. And
Yeah.
I felt really self-conscious about smoking it because I was like, I'm going to go home and is my mom going to find out or whatever. And
Yeah.
I felt terrible about it. But then years later, at this point, even right now,
Yeah.
I can't think about the time when I wasn't doing that.
Mm.
Right? I can't think about that. Like before that, it's just like, it feels like it's been forever. It feels
Yeah.
like this is just who I am. This is just what I
Like
do.
a different life.
Totally. Like I'm living a completely different life from that person.
Mhm.
Right? So it's kind of interesting too, though, how you can manipulate that when you realize it,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can be like, well, if I can't envision myself before I was smoking weed, what could I do if I started going to the gym as if I was smoking weed, like to that same extent, to that same amount?
Yeah.
I smoke weed every day. Why can't I go to the gym every day? Why
Yeah.
can't I put it into something positive? Okay, I go to the gym every day. How long is it going to take until I'm experiencing that same thing where I can't see the same person that was before
Yeah.
going to the gym every
You,
fucking day?
you can't see yourself without it.
Exactly. It's different. And it's so interesting how you can just make that shift just happen. And then you start doing it, and then you just keep doing it, and then you keep doing it, and then it
Yeah.
becomes habit. It becomes natural. It
Yeah.
becomes like, I feel gross. I feel weird if I don't do this thing, right?
Yeah.
If it like, just like with when you eat like shit, right? And then you start eating good, it's gonna suck for a couple days. You're not gonna be getting the shit in your body that your body's so accustomed to.
Yes, your microbiome has, like matter, it takes time to change.
Exactly. So you start eating salads instead. You're like, every time I want a burger, I'm gonna fucking, I don't know, I'm just gonna like think about it, but I'm gonna eat the salad. Sure. Cool. Great. So you eat the salad, your body's gonna be like, oh my God, what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
You're trying to be healthy. You don't do that. What the hell? Like, and then, but you keep doing it, and you keep
Yeah.
doing it, and you keep doing it, and doing it, and doing it, and doing it. Maybe while you're applying the gym to your life, right? And you do both of these things, and then your body's gonna feel completely different over time, and you're not even
Yeah.
gonna remember that time when you were like, I want that Don's.
Yeah, and that's where the most important factor is to view things in the scale of lifestyle, because lifestyle is not habit. It is the accumulation and collective conglomerate of habit, right? So it's like, yeah, you're just that type of person. But someone may say that, but not seeing all the things that you do to become that person. They don't realize the integrations and the removals and the things that you said no to and the things that you said yes to. They just see the general gist of what you are. And let's say that's my own perspective on myself, is I just see the general gist of what I am. And let's say I'm stuck in a way that I don't believe that I can change. And this is who I am kind of perspective. Well, now I'm not going to give myself the space to say, oh, this is just something that I'm doing. I can just not do it.
Right.
And be this person. Yes, I will feel a withdrawal if I've been constantly doing this thing.
Yep.
However, I realize that 2 days after, you've just like left purgatory.
Yeah.
And like, wow, I didn't realize that I could not do that thing after feeling like shit for 2 days and then feel amazing. But most people, through just the reduction of their willpower through that kind of scattered mind, don't have the power to cross through those 2 days.
Interesting.
Right? You're just stuck in your habit where you just keep chinking at your armor at the bottom, just taking away your foundation. Right? So
Yeah.
you're weakened, and then you don't have the strength to break through
Right.
because the mind keeps sabotaging itself. Whenever you try to do that good thing, your mind's like, you're not that person. And then you have to be like,
Yes.
fuck you, I am,
Yeah.
to your own brain. And then
Yeah.
it starts to recoil.
Yeah.
Right? So now there's a mental recoil and a physical recoil where you have to literally convince yourself that you're not the person that you were.
Yes.
Because you're not.
Yes.
I am who I am when I want to be.
Yes.
And that's now.
Yes. so then what about those people that think their thoughts are them? So how would we handle that? Because that's a different scenario.
So this is where I've put this in my brain. So in terms of like what I would call ego, I would say the body is a belonging of me because I'm not my body.
Right.
I'm in my body. I can move around my body because I control my body. Most people don't think they have that control, but I am not my memories. I can see, access, manipulate, and go through my memories. How can I be something that belongs to me? It doesn't fucking make sense. It's within me, but it isn't just me.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that I have motive control over it means that I am not just it. It is a part of me.
Right. So
Therefore, I'm above it.
yeah. So then, but still, even when you think that, the application of it and the conflict that comes with that thing,
Yeah.
and trying to overcome that, that's a completely different story. That's
Totally.
like trying to realize that and then trying to apply that into your life is very difficult for a lot of people because you think your thoughts is just your brain. A lot of people think their thoughts is their brain, right? Whereas our experience and our thought process and our thought pattern is, I'm actually out here,
Well, I have a different explanation for that.
right?
So let's break it down in this way. So let's go in consciousness itself. So consciousness, let's say it has tiers. So the first tier is where we are currently, conscious, in the conscious land. Not asleep, not unconscious, we're conscious currently, right? So within this conscious land, we have all the things that influence us physically and all the things that in our past influence us currently. Okay, let's expand this. So now let's say unconsciousness. Let's say the dreamland. So all the scattered memories, all the different things, all the different assortments of creativity, all those other pieces that are working in the background to like the fragments that we see in real time. Right? So we just get to see the bubbling up of that. But where does that come from? It comes from the subconscious. Right? This is like the laden part, the bottom of the ocean, the debris, right? Where my conscious body is interacting with things. I may not be aware of all those things, but it's having an effect on me. It's going to trickle down my unconsciousness into my subconsciousness.
Right.
And over time, those will bubble back up through the unconscious into the conscious, where all these things that I've had or been doing or had a memory and forgot about it, it's still there. However, when something in my consciousness triggers that to appear, that's when I'm going to feel that effect. Right? But it's not that I have no control over what's appearing in my awareness, because I now have to start seeing what bubbles up as evidence of my previous actions. Not myself, it's a belonging of me because these are things that I've done.
Yes.
But it's not just me. It's not like this thing is absolute and I have no control over it. Because it's just a visual. It's like something that appears in my awareness, not something that I have zero control over. Because I can communicate back to it.
Yeah.
Therefore, I've debunked it immediately. The fact that I can create a new thought of my own choice means I'm not it.
Yeah.
because it doesn't have the control over me.
Yeah. So great prime example of this, if for people that might not understand, is when you have a random floating thought that just comes into your brain and
Yeah.
you're not thinking about it. But then you think, why the hell am I thinking of that?
Yeah.
Right?
That's the awareness of the thing.
Exactly. Right? And that, if you practice that, why the hell am I thinking of that? That
Yeah.
actual conscious thought.
Yes.
Right? That's the difference between the subconscious thought and the conscious thought.
Yeah.
If you practice using active conscious thoughts
Yes.
more consistently,
Yes.
that is where you are, that place outside of your mind.
Exactly. As well as when you start thinking those things, you start depositing those back to the subconsciousness. So you have more of what you were thinking of and it comes back. But
Yeah.
it's still mixed in with all your previous shit. So the thing is you need to be consistent with being aware of what you're thinking to shift your own language and shift your own mind so you keep getting back what you want rather than what you had.
Yeah.
You still have what you had. You're just now aware when it comes to you that it isn't just you. It's a part of something that you've collected.
Yeah. And then you can choose, like, let's just say that subconscious thought is something that you don't want.
Yes.
Well, now you can send the conscious mind in to
Yeah.
be a subtractive force of that
Exactly.
subconscious thought. So that thing doesn't come back as much, right? But then if it's something that's beneficial that you've experienced in your past, that is not you right now, but it's still something that is beneficial that you can take that and that you want to take with you into the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You can use that conscious thought to be an additive or a multiplicative
Yes.
of that subconscious thought.
You give it power, right? You start like, yes, I want this. I want this. But the thing is most people are in the place where whenever they're like, let's say berated by their own mind of like negative shit that they think about themselves, is it they believe that those negative things are real because they're consistent.
Yes. And because they think that that's them now.
And they also think it's real because of past events. And they think that they can't control that because that's what's happened. That's who I am. In reality, it's just a mirage of your past. Where the moment that you see it and you say, okay, that did happen. However, if I change this one thing because I've learned from this event now, because it came to me and I looked at it and said, okay, well, I could change that. Now I'm no longer in my past.
Yeah.
I've immediately debunked my previous self.
Yes.
I'm now my new self because I have a new position on what occurred.
Yeah.
The moment you have a new position on what happened in your memory, you now have a different feeling when the memory comes back.
Right.
You no longer have the same anxiety or this or that because I'm no longer in that space because I've reflected on it.
Yes.
And the more that you reflect on the thoughts that appear that seem like inconsistent barrages of, like, say, a fucking song appears in your head or this or that or whatever, you just see it and like, okay, why did that even occur? Okay, I was looking at this and it reminded me of SpongeBob or something. Right?
Yeah.
And you just can make more connections rather than just being confused.
Right.
Right? Because you start seeing patterns. And then the patterns, you just start seeing through the patterns because the pattern keeps happening. And then you realize you're stuck in a game. Okay, now I have control over the game because I can see it.
Yeah, I just found the control panel.
I found the control panel.
Yeah. Totally.
Right? And that's where you can re-influence the mind by being consistent with yourself in your own brain. Catching language that isn't beneficial to me and saying, why the fuck am I thinking that? That's not true. Or I can be this way because I choose to be, and then be that way.
Yeah, and that's and I had that conversation recently with somebody about emotions, right? In that regard, right? And how people sometimes say, I have no control over my emotions. But that's because you haven't found the control panel yet.
Yeah.
You haven't discovered it. You haven't looked for it.
Yeah.
You know, you allow the emotions to waft over your mind.
Yeah.
And almost put a blanket over your head so that you can't see.
Yeah.
Your emotions they just cover you up, and then you just let this shit out, and it's you're not actually unveiling that. You're not taking that off manually. You have to manually be like, okay, stop.
Yes.
What the fuck? What is this? What am I doing? Why am I feeling this? Why did I just randomly break out into tears over this thing that I thought of that happened 14 years ago? What the fuck? What am I doing? I'm going to take this off, and I'm just going to put it over there, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing, or I'm going to think of this thing, or I'm going to do this. And it's so, once you figure it out, it's easy.
Yeah,
it
I
is
love the way
so
you
much
said that.
easier.
I love the way you said that. And you said, put it over there. And in my brain, that's how it works. Because I've decided, not necessarily decided, but I found that almost everything that I do, pretty much everything, emotionally, physically, doesn't matter. It's picking it up and putting it down.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't fucking matter what. Whether it's an emotion, whether it's a thought, whether it's anything. It's how, like, whether I involuntarily picked it up or not, I picked something up. I could be holding it over my head and feeling it as a mood or something or whatever, but where am I putting it down?
Right.
Am
Yeah.
I putting it down in a place where I've resolved it, or am I just letting it linger, float away, and come back and attack me in my brain when I'm not paying attention to it,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't decide anywhere that it belongs.
Totally. Yeah, and that it's so crazy too because I used to I am still a very emotional person. I'm a very, like human beings are just emotional, right?
Yeah.
But I used to cry over fucking everything, right? And now I feel like I'm a bit of a psycho sometimes, like straight up, and I'll explain why. Because I will be in the middle of crying over something, but then
Yeah.
I'll realize that I'm crying over something, and I'll be wafted with all these emotions, and
Yeah.
I'll have that blanket over my head.
Yeah.
But then I just stop out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And let's just say I'm crying in front of my fiance, right? Which I don't want to do ever. I don't ever want to show that side of me to her as best as I can. But I will literally be crying, and then I will just completely turn it off. It just stops out of fucking nowhere, and she's just like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, right? And that is
Like a that doesn't belong here response.
exactly. But most people would look at that and say, "You're crazy." Right? Like, really? Like, if you saw somebody just crying and then like
Executive control.
just exactly, and that's what that was. That was me saying, I don't need to be crying over this right now. Or like when I'm in a state of uncontrollable laughter, or what is thought as uncontrollable laughter,
Yes.
and then I just stop. Right? That's because I've practiced being like, this is not doing anything for me right now. So stop. Just stop. Like I would be like, ha ha ha, crying, laughing. Ha 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 ha. No, just straight faced. Like, stop. Whoa. Okay. Take a break. Take a breather. Right? Like, and there's power in that.
Yes.
Being able to just be like, okay, this thing has taken over my entire body and my mind. Okay. And this thing is not going to benefit me right now. So let's just move that away.
Yeah.
That can be put over there for now. Maybe I'll laugh about it later. But right now, in this conversation, done. Let's move on. Right? That's literally what's happening in my head. Is this is like I'm because I've explained to you before, I'm so audibly inept. Right? I think, and I can think louder than I can talk. Right? When I'm thinking right now in this conversation that we're having, it's 10 times louder than the way that I'm talking. I'm not even kidding. Right. So thinking about that in this context that I've just explained, when I'm laughing about something or I'm crying about something and it's really noisy and, bothering even me, in my head, it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Be done. Be done with it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, and it's just like, you're done now. Okay. Done.
Yeah.
No more. I'm turning that off, and we're going to go back to this other thing.
Yeah, and I think the main takeaway from that, like even a practicable skill, right, is recognizing what you're thinking and realizing what's happening and where I'm going to put it,
Yeah.
right? If there was to be something to practice, it's just realizing what's happening and where am I going to put it,
Yeah.
right? Like most people have what I call like personality traits is the things that you choose, or rather not even choose, but just like the things that you're holding above your head, like maintaining within you. And that comes out from your action, right? And that's where I feel like a lot of what's happening in someone's mind just kind of like flows out of them,
Right.
right? So if I haven't put something down, like let's say I was mad about losing in a fucking PvP video game earlier today, and it was affecting my behavior.
Yeah.
If I didn't just say, okay, that doesn't really matter, and like dismiss it,
Yeah.
well, then I would be like somewhat annoyed.
Yeah. That fucking Warzone Gulch. That Torrent guy kept kicking my ass.
Yeah, but if you allow it to affect you,
Yeah.
it's because you allowed it to affect you. You didn't put it
Exactly.
down anywhere.
Exactly. And that is such a powerful thing that I genuinely don't think a lot of people can actually quantify in their minds. And
Well, I think they can quantify. I just don't think they've developed the recognition that it's like easily part of their daily habits.
Yeah, I guess so. I've tried to explain it, and maybe my typical way of speaking about these things is not very clear as to how it works in my own brain. But most of the time, people just are left like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Right? And that's really
That just kind of sparked something in my head. I feel like in like the general population, people feel like reality, like the physical reality, has to solve it for them. Like they have to run into a situation that puts it down for them, rather than them putting it down. Like they have to find the immediate evidence to contradict their feeling, to then prove to their own mind that it isn't true.
right.
So they take so much more time to just like happenstance solve it, or like I have to do like a fucking marathon to convince myself that I can do a marathon.
Yeah.
Rather than saying I can do a marathon because I've done enough 8Ks to say, okay, maybe I can do this.
Right.
Right? I don't have to absolutely do exactly what it is to believe I can do it. Because
Yeah.
I've developed the skill of doing things that I know I can do stuff. I don't
Yeah.
have to do it yet to know I can do it.
Yeah, developing the skill of knowing that you can do things that you don't know that you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great place to end this.
Yeah.
So have fun with your own mind and don't take shit so seriously.
Awesome.
And have a nice day.
Thanks, everybody. See you
Take
next
care.
time.